Hey Ranger Nation, so today we are back with the Magus Bride Part 2 for Manga Entertainment. I know this is out now, but I kind of really wanted to give my thoughts on my review for it, and I generally really like it, and it's kept my interest since the last one that we did a while ago. Before we jump into this review, if you want to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button as well as cheeky notification bell to be notified when more videos drop. And without further ado, let's just jump straight into it. Very beginning, the kind of extras that you get on disc 1 is commentary on episode 21. And on disc 2, you get an interview with George Wada, and I can't even say the next guy's name, and I know that I will just get it wrong. This anime is still very stunningly beautiful. It is capturing the English countryside so well. When you first start the disc, you have like Yule, and it's setting it up for like Christmas time. I've got to admit, this was just really cool. Now, I can't remember the girl's name. Again, I'll pop it up on screen. But Keisei is invited to go to London to search for a Christmas present for the girl's kind of master, as well as Keisei looking for Elias. Oh my god, it was so nice to kind of see London, how they did like the pubs. The only downside I will say to this is that it felt like it was less busy. It should have been busier around that time, but I generally really like the fact that they got this really perfect. It's also really interesting because we saw like a centaur who was like a postman, and he was delivering mail, and he was like, well, you know, people can't see me, alchemists can't see me, but like give me 2 seconds and boom. And I generally kind of like that because it felt like Keisei had a friend that no one could see. Well, mainly like only mages could see. And I generally thought that was really nice. Alice is the girl's name. I wrote it down, should have waited. She meets an old acquaintance, and it's kind of interesting because we see a lot of a backstory. We see that she was into drugs because her family had done this. And I've got to admit, I didn't expect it. So when Alice sees an old like dealer, basically, it's not a friend, but when she sees this person, like he says like, oh, hey, you know, we should have a good time. And when she says no, he gets very violent and boom, just she knocks the crap out of him. So when her like goons and stuff like that come towards her, you saw that with this one. Like, you know, the dog comes up of nowhere, and, you know, and Keisei is just completely different, and I like this. I thought, you know, seeing this was something slightly different rather than normal. But you see like a small fight, and then it kind of like stops, and this is when you get Alice's background properly. Renford, I'm guessing I've got his name is right. We've seen him in previous episodes where he has like damage to his like eye, and you kind of like find out how that happened. So when Alice is looking through books, and like a demon like pops out of nowhere and attacks. And like, you know, she doesn't realize this, and obviously Renford said like, you know, I tell you what to do. But you see like how Alice is patching him up and stuff, and it was generally like a kind of it was a weird thing, but also kind of cool at the same time because you saw the backstory and how they're so close. While watching Alice's backstory, you saw how she went from becoming an addict to like becoming normal and going down a different path. And this is something that you don't normally see in many animes, and I've not really seen anything like this. So it was kind of a bit dark, but also kind of like, oh, now you've got a better connection to see why Alice is like the way she is. As they kind of wrap this one up, they like have presents for, you know, their beloved ones. You know, Elias has like this like new necklace type thing that she buys him, and like, even though he's worried about it, saying like you shouldn't have gone down to London, you know, he was obviously keeping an eye on her through this like spirit thing that you see. I generally thought it was something that we'd see much later on, like it was a big bad guy and little things like that. But, you know, he gives her a teddy bear that he's made, and it's got magical powers. So basically every single night it absorbs her excess magic and turns it into like these flower crystals. And a crystal flower, should I say. And I like this. It felt very natural, and it felt very like, oh, you know, that's never been really done before. So it was a really nice take on it. But this is kind of used later on as like kind of, I would say like kind of currency. You know, they're very edible, you know, they're very powerful, you know, and they're like a delicacy. And I like this. It was something different. I don't know how many times I've said that, but I generally thought the way that they thought outside the box, and the way that they wanted to kind of show stuff, that I was kind of blown away by. This also anime sets up for kind of a story arc with Stella and Ethan. And Ethan disappears, and you kind of see them at the very beginning in one episode where they bump into Keisei, and it's like, oh, I'm really sorry. But then when it delves deeper into this episode, Ethan goes missing because of this one guy that knows Elias, and I really don't like him. I really don't like him. But because of this, Ethan wanders off into that kind of forest, and he becomes lost, and this creature just says, well, you're lost now. You've been disowned. His sister says, oh, I don't want you anymore. And therefore it's like, well, now you're mine. And I was like, oh, yep, that's pretty much, I can see that happening inside this universe. And I generally was like, I didn't expect to see this. When Stella says, like, she's the only one that remembers Ethan, because no one remembers Ethan whatsoever. So with this, they make a deal, and Elias takes control of Keisei. And I'm wondering how many times you'll see this in the future, where he just says, like, if you want to make a deal, you have to give something in return for our services. And Stella just goes, oh, I'll bake. I'll make stuff for you. I'll cook. I'll create treats, cakes, biscuits, whatever you want. And they go for it. And I've got to admit, I was like, okay, that's a pretty sweet deal. But it's like every single time that they visit, and obviously Stella and Keisei become friends. So I'm wondering if that will kind of stop. But you do bring in one thing, I'm going to talk about it now, is that Elias gets jealous much later on about this. And it's such an interesting story development, but we're going back to the main deal. As this deal has now been forged, Keisei, Elias, and Stella are all walking through the forest. They're giving these crystal flowers out as currency, saying this is a deal. You tell us where we need to go. Blah blah blah. It goes on, and I thought this was a unique way. Again, it's a good selling point for the reason why the bear was made. But I liked all of this. It was a slow pace, but not a slow pace where you're like, oh god, I'm bored. It was very interesting to see how this all worked and what they wanted to do with it. So they do find Ethan and this demon, and this demon makes a deal and says, like, at the end of the day, if you can find the ones that you love, then you can have Ethan back. But there's no kind of give back. It's like, if you don't find them, then they are mine forever. And I generally wanted a deal to be made. It would be like, okay, well, if this happens, you will, if we win, you will never do this again. It just feels kind of a one-sided thing. And they do mention this. I was just like, oh dear God, come on. Have a proper, deal made. But in the end, we know that they find them. Keisei turns into a bear. And I thought this was a very nice continuation from what we'd seen previously. I wholeheartedly like the way that she knows that Elias is hers, that is a home, and that's what we get. And I thought, yeah, I really dug this. They do find him, they win the game, and everything goes on. Everyone remembers Ethan and that they're all friends. I did like one thing, and I don't know if this is straight up after, but when Stella and her family go home, she gets actually stabbed in the neck a little bit, like a pinch or something, or she gets injected. So you wonder why this is happening. And it pays up later on. So I'm really also impressed with Keisei's animal magic, the way that she's able to transform into a wolf, into a bear. And I think you see this a little bit more later on, and it's just, you don't see it in much anime, and this is what kind of makes it stand out to most animes that I've seen. They add in Japanese singing, and this is for Keisei's sleep magic that actually puts Elias under this sort of kind of sleep spell for such a long time. And it kind of made me kind of giggle, but it showed Keisei's kind of, I'm guessing, mothering side as well as the relationship side, that she wants Elias to relax, so she sings to him. And it was a very nice kind of way of transitioning straight into kind of English and Japanese singing, but mainly it's all going to be Japanese singing through this. To keep this kind of flowing, you're introduced to the next arc, the main story. And this is when Joseph, as I mentioned, tags Stella for some reason, which you see, but they all go to London, and Joseph is kidnapping dragons, and literally it's something that when you see it for the first time, you're like, oh my god, what's happening? These dragons should be saved. But Joseph kidnaps them and obviously tries to sell them. He's doing something really weird, I'm guessing experimenting on them, and that's one thing that really kind of not freaked me out, but I was like, oh my god. So in the end, the dragon kind of council, as well as some of the alchemists, they come to Elias and Keisei, and they start talking, saying we need your help. We know this is going on. How can you help us? Very, very simple. I've got to admit, the battle at the very end was, you saw a dragon become bigger. They've always said that they can evolve. So when this one dragon just loses its shit constantly. You know, it expands into a big dragon, it starts attacking people, and this is when Keisei gets badly hurt. So Elias gets knocked off the dragon because they're riding the dragon. That sounds really weird. But with this, Keisei takes all this like magic power to try and calm the dragon down and actually gets cursed. And I've got to admit, when she wakes up, it's like, oh my god, I've got this really cool dragon hand. But we find out that this curse will kill her or turn her into something else. There's only a few ways of doing it. If Keisei becomes fully magical, she becomes a creature, and therefore she, the curse will disappear. She could cut off the arm, but I don't think that would work. But there's only Joseph knows how to deal with this. And then this is when the plan with Stella and Joseph and Keisei and Elias all kicks in. Dear God, I am all over the place in this run right now. Kind of in short, Elias knows how to do it. He needs to sacrifice someone pure to actually get rid of this curse, and it's the only kind of way that she's found. So Elias then gets Stella. This is when you find out that Joseph is inside Stella or controlling her. And Stella is like, oh no, you found the plan. But then tricks Keisei, because when Keisei like comes in, it's like, oh, what are you doing? And it's like, oh my god, Elias is about to sacrifice me, blah 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 blah. And Keisei just gets pissed. She's angry. She literally tells Elias to stay away. And then we see this little Fae that was at the very beginning of the series come in and like block it and say, no, you're not going after it, you're mean. When it gets closer, she figures out that Joseph is inside Stella and they have to make a deal. Basically, Joseph wants the curse, wants the arm bit of Keisei's power. In return, if he lets it kind of like take it, then obviously, Stella will be alive and he'll release her. So then it jumps into this whole kind of backstory. They swap eyes. That was weird. That was very weird. But he's like, oh, I need a part of you and you can have a part of me and then you'll have my curse of living forever. So they just literally just swap eyes. And I was just like, oh, I'm so glad that later on they color correct it so her eye goes back to being green, because oh my god, I could not watch the whole series of her with a grey eye and a green eye. So we see a huge backstory on Keisei's parents now, and you see the reason why, and you're always led to believe that Keisei's mum just went crazy one day and just wanted to kill her. But now you see the whole process on why. You also get Joseph's backstory as well, and to be fair, I just didn't care. Like, I hadn't formed a connection with this character. Like, obviously he's evil, and obviously he wanted chaos, but I didn't like what he had become. And I just didn't care. I wanted his backstory to be over because I was more concentrated on Keisei and what she'd wanted. And then this kind of huge, massive battle at the very end. I did like this because it showed that, Elias can fuse with other elemental beings to create stuff. Just this whole massive fight when they find Keisei. I really also liked when Elias was looking for her. It was just something different. It was pure love that was there. That was the main thing that I saw. It just like the end fight, I think, could have been a lot better and a lot longer. You find that Joseph now goes into a sleep coma type thing because he's resting. He's never had rest or love. But I generally think that this entire anime is beautifully well shot. It's well drawn, shall I say. It's something that keeps my attention. And one thing I really liked, if they wanted to end the anime right here, right now, they would have done it. You've had the jealousy with Elias when he doesn't like Stella. You've had the fact that Keisei is about to die from a curse and how to keep it going. So basically Joseph's power is kind of regeneration and stuff. So it will keep the curse at bay or something like that, I think they mentioned. But you've had everything. You've had the kind of conclusion. And this is when Keisei and Elias get married. And that's it. It's perfect. If it ended there, I'd be fine. Like, obviously it will continue in the manga. But I generally felt like I had a conclusion to all of it. It didn't feel rushed. It felt well paced. And as I said, the animation was beautiful. The story was well written. I didn't feel bored, apart from Joseph's backstory. But apart from that, I generally really liked it. And I can't wait for the next lot that's coming out. I hope that there is a season 2 drawn or in the works, because I don't really trust the internet when I Google this sort of stuff, because I don't know where to get my news source from. But I generally felt that this was a conclusion. I generally liked it, and I would highly recommend this because it's a nice anime. The music as well is really well put together. If you want to get a kind of glimpse on how the English is kind of portrayed in this, then I would highly recommend it. If you can get a collector's edition, if there is one, then get it. But I would highly recommend this anime more than anything because I felt like I could watch it over and over and over again, and that's what I generally liked. So Ranger Nation, I'm going to leave it there. I feel like I've talked about it, but I think I don't want to spoil it too much, even though I've said major things, because I want you to experience this. I think this anime is highly worth it. It's worth the money that you'd spend. If there's a collector's edition, I'd highly recommend getting that. And I think that this is an anime that everyone can enjoy. And, you know, I'm so glad that I was introduced to it. Again, as I said, I think in my previous video, I wasn't sure if I would like this. There's the reason why I kind of skipped out on it. But this is a great series, highly recommended. So yeah, so what do you think about all this? Do you like the Ancient Magus Bride? Do you hate it? What do you recommend? Is there a season 2? Where can I get my anime news from? You know, I want to know. Let me know down below in the comments. And as always, Ranger Nation, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, as well as that cheeky notification bell to be notified when more videos drop. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a bit.